Hi, Andrea here. I'd like to speak about 2012. Now, there are many theories around what is going to happen in 2012, December, from natural disasters to spiritual ascensions to Doomsday Prophecies. There are many websites and theories about what is going to happen in 2012. Going through some websites on the internet, I was able to find some very cool information with regards to predictions that have been made that have then also been invalidated by, theologians and people who have studied that specific field or theory. For example, with the Mayan calendar, you can find research on the internet where the people who study the Mayan calendar themselves have said, look, this information is not accurate, it was misrepresented. Different theories that have been suggested that have been sort of looked into by people, and most of it's there on the internet for people to look into. So I found this website where there's a list of predictions of the end of the world. And these are predictions that have obviously not happened because the world hasn't ended. And I was just going to read through a list, and I found this list to be so massive that I thought, okay, look, what I'll do is I'll place it into the video so that one can actually see, and I'll place the link in the description box, so that one can actually see, wow, since they go back right to the 1st century, the revelations and predictions that were made that had specific dates which never happened, obviously, because we're still here. And now we're sitting with the 2012 predictions, of which there are many. So let's look at, for example, natural catastrophes, that Earth is supposed to be hit by and or sucked into some great natural catastrophe which is going to be the end of the world. And a friend of mine mentioned information given by NASA in his blog, and I will add his blog in the description box as well, because he writes about 2012 Ascension, Doomsday stuff, has some cool perspectives there. So I specifically went to the NASA page and looked at their frequently asked questions about beyond 2012, why the world won't end. So first question is, are there any other threats to Earth in 2012? NASA says the world will not end in 2012. Our planet has been getting along just fine for more than 4 billion years. They go on to say that there was the claim of Nibiru, the planet that was supposed to now smack into Earth. And this is basically where they're saying where this started. Does the Mayan calendar end in December 2012? Just as the calendar you have on your kitchen wall does not cease to exist after December 31st, the Mayan calendar does not cease to exist on December 21st, 2012. This date is the end of the Mayan long count period. So basically they're talking about a cycle that ends, not the actual ending of the world. Is NASA predicting a total blackout of Earth on December 23 to December 25th? Absolutely not. Neither NASA nor any other scientific organization is predicting such a blackout. The false reports on this issue claim that some sort of alignment of the universe would cause a blackout. There is no such alignment. Could planets align in a way that impacts Earth? There are no planetary alignments in the next few decades, and even if these alignments were to occur, their effects on Earth would be negligible. Is there a planet or brown dwarf called Nibiru or Planet X? Nibiru and other stories about wayward planets are an internet hoax. There is no factual basis for these claims. They go on to explain a bit more. I will provide the link so you can read this for yourself. They basically go on, they talk about, is Earth in danger of being hit by a meteor in 2012? The Earth has always been subject to impact by comets and asteroids, although big hits are very rare. The last impact was 65 million years ago. That led to the extinction of the dinosaurs. Today, NASA astronomers are carrying out a survey called the Space Guard Survey to find any large near-Earth asteroids. long before they hit. We have already determined that there are no threatening asteroids as large as the one that killed the dinosaurs. How does NASA scientists feel about the claims of the end of the world in 2012? For any claims of disasters or dramatic changes in 2012, where is the science? Where is the evidence? There is none, and for all the fictional assertions, whether they are made in books, movies, documentaries, or over the internet, we cannot change the simple fact that you require some form of proof to make such a claim, of which they say there is none. So basically that's the physical, astronomical, planetary Earth getting smacked, crushed side of it. Then you have all the doomsday predictions that never happened. Now, even with regards to Ascension, for example, you know, you're looking here at, from my perspective, with regards to Ascension, you're looking at what have all the other failed doomsday prophecies shown us. It has shown us that, first of all, you're looking at people that either take existing information, small minor facts, and they blow it up to be something bigger than what it is, through and for the cause of profit, to sell books, movies, etc. Then you have many of these spiritual websites that promote Ascension, they promote the raising of our frequencies, collective consciousness, alien races that are busy giving information to us on how to overcome these disasters and problems that we are facing. Now, then there is, of course, the solution of, oh well, there's Ascension, where we'll just, now in December, the people that have managed to raise their frequencies are going to just, bloop, ascend. So, if one take all of this, and I highly recommend one just go and do the research and read up about the doomsday conspiracies, natural disasters, and Ascension theories, one can always see an underlying point within it all. First of all, that somebody made the claim and that the claim was not true, therefore one can always go and look at where is this information coming from and why did it not happen? Did the person have some mental disorder that caused them to hallucinate and to write stories, and that humanity is always looking for something to entertain ourselves by, and that the next question around when are things going to end or when is there going to be a shift in the problems that we are facing, that is always a big question for people, and people will therefore find the proposed philosophical or religious theory that fits their already existent belief systems. For those that see it for what it is, that develop a bit of common sense, that's cool, because they will immediately go, well, all of the other ones haven't happened, and okay, this could happen, but I'm not going to disregard my physical reality as it is to be able to follow this belief in that this could be real. For example, if one look at the entire theory of Ascension, another reason why people create such ideas that things are going to miraculously change for us are A, for profit, B, mental instability, causing one to imagine these things and then to publish it and then have people read it and think, oh, it must be real. One must not sort of kid oneself in saying just because 50,000 people have read that book means that it is true. Because one must realize that the human mind is set up currently in such a way that we will block out the reality of our reality to see things in a way that suits one's belief systems, that will make one feel better. This entire world has been set up and designed, the world systems are designed in such a way to make the individual feel good, to the highest level of happiness, if you want to place it like that. Unfortunately, this is what it is, because the human does not exist for anything that is not going to bring one a feeling of comfort and happiness and survival, because everything that the human exists for exists here in the mind. Therefore, it is going to always, whatever theories people are writing, books that are being written, as long as that links in with the human's notion and tendency to want to appease our fears, to want to feel good about my existence here on this planet, you're going to sell your book. So, the people who are buying the books, for example, on Ascension, if one look here at complete self-honesty and one look at why am I following the Ascension principle, why do I want to run away from everything that is here? If this planet was perfect and it was heaven on earth and everybody could live in equality and happiness and abundance, would there exist a theory such as Ascension, for example? Would we be coming up with theories that there are aliens that visit, that are feeding people information on how to better humanity's ability to deal with the problems that we're facing? No, none of that would exist. Therefore, the fact that we are claiming we're unable to deal with our own problems, that is the cause. That is what is really going on here, is that every theory about how to deal with stuff is showing us and indicating that we are not dealing with stuff. Ascension, if you go and look at it for what it is me directly saying, whoa, I don't like this life. I don't like what I've created as this world. I don't like the stuff that's happening to people every day around me. I either don't know how to change it or I don't care. And what makes me feel good is this concept that in December I'm going to raise my frequencies and whoop, I'm going to ascend. Cheers, bye-bye planet Earth. Now, in contradiction with one's own spiritual beliefs, if I was some guru, master or god and I welcomed you into my arms, hey, Jesus, Allah, whoever the hell you are, I would probably say to the person who I've just welcomed into my arms, welcome. Why did you leave the planet as it is? Because what's going to happen during Ascension? What's going to happen to all the animals? What's going to happen to the people who didn't ascend? You've just made life 50,000 times worse for them because you've removed all the people who were making food, medical staff, the people who manage housing, water, electricity. What about the children who didn't meet the right criteria for Ascension? Now they're left behind. So now you have all these, if you were to look down at planet Earth 6 months later, a year later, you have animals eating babies, zombies walking around because all these infections have run wild because the hospitals have had to close down, people eating people, and now you have left your planet, which in the first place got out of control because you were there. You as a human existed. Now you've left it. Now all the beings that apparently could not ascend have been left, and now they're suffering even more than ever. All the rainforests have been cut down. Everything is in complete ruin. The human does not know, those who remain, just as oneself, before you ascended, did not know how to create an economic system that supports everybody equally, did not know how to share the resources without wanting to kill each other and take control of resources and shoot anything that moves that comes near your resources. So this is what your legacy that you've left behind. No support, no education. You just all of a sudden went from being part of that and not having to change anything about oneself other than raising a frequency and thinking oneself into specialness, and you get sucked up and you've ascended. So you are actually not even worthy of ascension. You've left behind a planet that is now in complete ruin, and you get up there and now you're meeting your master or your God or your spiritual consciousness source that is just either going to be just as narrow-minded as you by saying, this is great, cool, look at them, ha ha, welcome. Or the being is going, I mean, if they're truly of higher consciousness, if they know everything there is to know, would they not look at you and say, why did you leave that planet? Is that your legacy? I mean, take it to any form of religion. If Christ was to come, second coming, whatever, to earth, and he walked through the streets, and he went, why is that man starving? And you go, yeah, no, he's just, there's not enough jobs, and he is probably lazy, and he's a bum, man, whatever. Jesus would probably faint if he had to come back to earth and see the abuse and walk amongst his followers, who are the ones justifying at every step of the way why we allow an economic system that abuses life on this planet, where beings are born into this physical reality, but nothing is here to support our existence unless you have money. If you don't have a little piece of paper, you are screwed, and your life force will be abused and sucked dry until you die. Sorry, that's life for you on this planet. So if any guru master came down to earth, I mean, many have, and they turned it into a mind, I want to say the F word, they turned it into a complete point of mental masturbation, where they went, oh, this is not nice, but let's all meditate and let's think it better. Let's think about peaceful things and feel peaceful. The fact that the world doesn't change shows that no spiritual person has ever bothered to keep their hands dirty. They only change their inner experience through thinking, and there you go, voila. Same with the point of ascension. You just pop, ascend. So my participation and point of doing this interview is at no stage a point of ridicule, bashing. It is a point of common sense, of directly looking at what am I believing in, what am I saying, do a bit of research, and question yourself. Question, are you okay with the concept of ascending, the concept of, let's say you say that aliens are going to be feeding us the answers. How can they feed us answers to the answers that are already in front of us? Even if they feed us the answers, nobody is willing to implement it, because the answers have to be actual answers to the problems, not more sneaky, devised answers that make sure some can write books and make capital, because that's not an answer. If you are now still 30, 40, 50 years after the beginning of things like spirituality, UFO, alien consciousness, the whole ascension thing, if you are still receiving messages but nothing is changing in the world, then you know that there is a problem. You got to ask yourself, will everybody be able to change and live equally when this is done? Or is this going to be a utopia concept where some are going to be in special bubbles, while again the poverty ones are pushed aside? So every single philosophy and theory one can question and see, is this truly a sustainable solution? And if the aliens are feeding us a special consciousness and an answer to the problem, how is that going to help? Because one has to change oneself to be able to accept the answer. And one has to change oneself in such a way that if the aliens buggered off and they left us, how do we know we won't recreate the same problems? So many, many points here to consider. And one wants to look at it this way. End of December, when everybody is still here, what are we going to do then? What are you going to do if your Doomsday and Ascension, end of the world philosophy has not come through? Are you going to hide in your house, cringing, and then be faced with the self-honesty, which is that you actually didn't want to have to change the world, you just wanted to get out of here? Or are you going to go, it's not just me, it is everybody that is abused because I am here, because I have to live and feed myself. And I agreed to the system the way it is, and I agreed to human nature the way it is. And it is because of that exact, if you look at how we tend to think and feel, we tend to think and feel in self-interested ways. So Ascension is just another example of what makes me feel better and what makes things most comfortable for me. So looking at the world and going, oh, what a shitty place, and then wanting to ascend, is you just doing the exact same thing that the rapist and the murderer and the killer and the capitalist did. They did what in that moment feels the best to them. And we've all done this. And people tend to attach a positive value to what we're doing and look at the other person and judge that person. You're negative, you're evil, you're bad. Not realizing everybody's doing the exact same thing, and thus harming life on this planet. So if 2012 comes and goes and everybody's still here, how does one accept responsibility for the world? Finally, when you face the world, one and equal, and you go, wow, okay, I'm here. And I'm not dead, I'm not gone, so I still have my time left here. And whether you have, one way of looking at it is for the next generations. Do I really want my children and their children to live in this world that I can see things getting worse and worse and worse? Or do I want to look at the practical changes required for us to make sure that they are not going to be stuck with our decisions like we were stuck and are living the decisions of the generations before us? We tend to always look back at the generations before us, I find, and look at what our grandparents did and go, oh, But we're doing the exact same thing, but it's just a slightly different way of doing it. So one can look at Ascension doesn't have to be one sort of being on some other spiritual plane where you're floating as an energy bubble. Heaven and earth can be here. It is very, very doable. Therefore, we don't have to find escape plans and call in other races with our minds to come and give us the answers. Everything is here already for us to work with. Thank you.